let me tell you my real confusion, because this was talking of everything in the world. And that's the matter. Because does democracy matter? Yes, of course, yes. This is absolutely an evidence. But what kind of democracy? I know a lot of countries with the word democratic inside the title, the name. One of the most caricatural is République démocratique du Congo. No, but my dear, joking. They are not democratic at all. And they are not a republic at all. And remember, the popular democratic states in the middle of Europe, they are not democratic at all. So please, I want to say some few words and to remind you some definition before going to my real subject. Not the model of democracy, but a kind of new, let's say, new frontier. This is European Union. And if I understand something to the public and to the real deep sense of this conference, there is also another question. Is Ukraine able, or is Ukraine desire to come to European Union is serious or not? Is it possible or not? Is it necessary or not? So, you know that the concept of democracy changed with time. And on the beginning, democracy was the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Easy to say. And if you refer, and you did refer to the French Revolution, it was 1789. Far away, and you are still very popular in the rest of the world because of this revolution. But things have changed completely. And to ask the question in a sort of balance in between democracy or revolution, what kind of revolution? Do you know a revolution since 15 or 1 century was a good revolution or bad revolution? Is the Arab Spring a revolution? Let's discuss about it. But certainly, our friend in the Arab countries, they didn't support anymore dictatorship for close to 40 years. That's completely true. But after, for the society, I don't know. We'll see. So, after this very incomplete definition of democracy, in the 19th century, democracy became a statecraft, a sort of governing method. Was it true? Not completely. Then, it has been extended to the economic and social rights with the birth, not only with the birth of the European Union, but partly after the Second World War with the birth of European Union. So, is it more secure? Yes. I want to remind, yesterday I was really impressed by the data of the economical crisis. But, my dear friends, economical crisis is just an episode. European Union and the fact that the people were fighting each other since centuries and centuries, the model of the organized crime was Europe. And this is much more important than the economical crisis. I don't want to tell you, because I'm absolutely not neglecting this important economical and financial episode. But the European Union was based on a very simple, and it matters with global security. It was the beginning of the reconciliation of people who were fighting each other, the French and the German, the British and the German, etc. We were fighting our British friends during 6th century and 50 years. Not bad. We were fighting the German, the French and the German for 1 century and 50 years. And the Second World War was a model, not only of Holocaust, but murdering day by day, racism. So we are not completely proud of what happened in the European continent. And the beginning of this European Union with Jean Monnet, with Schuman, with de Gasperi, with Spaak, etc., it was to reconcile the people who were just out of a fantastic shock and the war. And it was impossible to propose to these people out of this crisis to start by a political statement, to start with a political agreement. It was impossible. That's why they turned the problem and offered le pacte de charbon et d'acier, and in 1957 it was the first step of the European Union. It was not the same. It was a community in that time, and it was on steel and coal and charcoal, yes. So we cannot suppress, and we don't have to suppress, this fantastic political adventure. It was the best and the most important political adventure of our time. 6, then 9, then 12, then 15, 17, 27 now. Step by step, we were, let's say, enlarging the circle. It was difficult. And this, now European Union, is very used to go forward crisis after crisis. I'm coming from a country where we have voted in disfavor with our Dutch friends, in disfavor of the Maastricht Treaty. The Constitutional Treaty. Maastricht, we were in agreement, but just. And Constitutional Treaty. And so after, we had to bypass this other episode, but it was politically very difficult. So don't believe that I'm completely aware about the necessity of reforming not only my country, but the others. And I'm completely aware of the deepness of the crisis, economical crisis, the crisis of debt, etc. But we must not be stopped in our looking and movement to democracy and to enlarge the circle, because there is a crisis. There was always, it was always from one crisis to the other. We have to take and to consider this huge and difficult crisis as an opportunity. And sorry to say to the economists, even though we are not able to prevent this crisis, they don't have to lead the world. I know that this is important, I'm in favor of market economy, blah, 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 okay. But please, politics exists. Representing who? Just the people. That is democracy. And yes, we have to reform the system. Yes, we have to go back to the budget balance, etc., etc. But not only. And we are on the good way. I think so. I think so. Not completely sure. It will depend for me of the result, and the first round is on Sunday. It will depend partly of the result. But we have to talk also about what happened in France compared to Germany and compared to UK and etc. Not time enough. So I just want also to remind you some very simple basis of our democracy. First, of course, election. Fair election, multipartism, etc. But this is not enough. I know some countries where they failed to get clear, transparent and controlled election. It was not true. Just after the election, we used to discover that it was not true. Second, we have to, like Montesquieu said, learn that the separation of powers is absolutely key between the executive, the legislative and the judiciary. I know a lot of countries, I don't know if it's the case here, where judiciary is very influenced by politics. A lot of countries. So I rather prefer the definition of Albert Camus, who say democracy is not the law of the majority, but the protection of the minority.